Okay, so the recording has started. Let's go on record the matter of Jeffrey Peterson versus Raymond School District, ERD case number CR 202400725 and CR 202401544. We are continuing the hearing that began last week. I believe this is day 5, and we had a slight delay for a good reason. I think this morning there was some off-record discussion. I appreciate the counsel for both parties' willingness to cooperate in streamlining some of the some of the claims that are to be decided in this case. I don't need to go into the details of the discussion, but I would like to put on record the outcome of that discussion. And so I will defer to counsel to do that at this time. Attorney Haslam, why don't you begin and just give a summary of the outcome of our discussion?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So my client, in order to focus on the issues that really matter to him, he wants to dismiss and waive any claims to any FMLA days that were accrued during his prior term of employment with Raymond School while he was a teacher there, as well as any claims related to the FMLA materials being posted.
Okay, and Attorney Lubinsky, would you concur that that is an accurate summary of the outcome of our discussion?
Yeah, I just want to confirm the first part I think is accurate. The second part, there was a claim that the district did not properly post the FMLA notices. Attorney Haslam, correct me if I'm wrong, that claim is being dismissed.
That is correct. That was an ancillary claim my client has zero interest in pursuing.
Very good. Then, Judge, to answer your question, I do agree that is an accurate summary of our conversation earlier.
Very well. And the other, just as a scheduling matter, the other thing we decided is that the goal is, and I really want to finish in the time there's some discussion about whether we might need one more day in addition today or 2, and the concurrence between counsel was 2, and I'm going to allow that, but I really want everyone to finish by that time, the end of an additional 2 days. And the 2 days that are going to be scheduled after today are March 2nd and March 4th. I'll have to try to make sure that there's a link sent for March 4th for Teams. I don't believe that's been sent, so I'll have to follow up on that. So that's, I think, the council would agree that's the extent of our discussion, and we can proceed now, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and I would note that there are 2 people in the waiting room, one of whom was going to be a witness, but that witness, Steve Harder, I was only going to call him to testify relating to the portion of the claim that's now been dismissed. So to the extent, Judge, you would like to do so, you can admit the 2 in the waiting or in the lobby.
Okay, so we're absolutely certain that Mr. Harder then is not going to be testifying.
Not for me, no. His sole testimony related to that 34.5-hour claim that's been dismissed.
Okay, well that's a good point, though.
Yeah,
I guess your case in chief, Attorney Haslam, is concluded anyway. So other than the witnesses that we deferred scheduling to, but you don't plan. Let me cut to the chase here. Be a little more simple. You don't plan to call that witness, do you?
Mr. Harder? No, I don't intend to call Mr. Harder.
Okay,
the good news is he just dropped off, so he probably, now that he knows he's not a witness, because I texted him, he's probably like, I can go do other things. So
yeah. All right. Well, then I don't know this person, but I'll go ahead, and again, I can't continuously monitor who wants to be admitted throughout the day, but since it's we're about to begin, I'll admit this other person waiting here. Not sure who that is, but okay. So anything else? Otherwise, I think we're ready to proceed with testimony.
Nothing from us.
Okay, let me just make sure I've got a little bit concerned. I want to make sure the recording's going, and it is. Okay, so good morning, Mr. Garvey. Before your testimony begins, I just need to swear you in. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Attorney Lubinsky.
No problem, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Garvey. Can you see and hear me okay?
I can.
All right. If at any time, because of the video nature of this, you get disconnected or can't hear any of us, let us know. And we've had pretty good success so far, but the technical issues come up, so we'll work through those. Mr. Garvey, are you currently employed?
I'm starting a job on Monday.
All right. So as of today, Monday, you are not working, is that correct?
That is correct.
Let me maybe start at the beginning. Did you work in the field of education?
I did.
Give the judge a brief overview of your education, not your work experience, your education, after high school. Did you get degrees? What were they in?
Sure.
Just very brief summary.
I have a degree in natural sciences where I majored in meat and animal science and agricultural education. I have a master's degree in educational administration. I have a specialist certificate in educational administration, and I have a PhD in educational leadership and policy analysis. All of those were at UW-Madison.
All right. Dr. Garvey, thank you for that. Did you first start in the field of education working as a teacher?
I did.
What did you teach?
I taught middle school and high school agriculture.
Kind of figured as much from your credentials. Can you walk through, again, 2 minutes or less, an overview of your work experience leading up through today in the field of education?
Sure. So I taught for 6 years, and then I became a principal. Did that for 2 years. 1 year, I did both principal and superintendent business manager. Then I was a superintendent in 3 districts. In Princeton, where I had started as a principal and then moved into the superintendency. Sauk Prairie for a year, and Johnson Creek, Wisconsin for 17 years.
Did you retire, as they say, from Johnson Creek?
I did.
And then, as many superintendents do, did you decide to dip your toe back into the water after you retired?
I had been contacted by a search company to do so. I had indicated to them I might be interested in the future, and so they reached out to me.
Very good. Do you have when approximately did you retire from Johnson Creek?
That would have been 2022.
Okay. All right. Are you familiar with a search firm called HYA?
Yes.
And is that the search firm that reached out to you concerning Raymond?
It is.
Who from HYA was your primary contact?
Michael Ritchie.
Did you have any prior experience in any of your prior employment working with HYA and or Mike Ritchie?
Not at all with HYA. Mike Ritchie and I knew each other as fellow superintendents, but we had not worked together on any projects.
And is it true, Mr. Ritchie, before he went to work for HYA, he too was a superintendent in one or more districts?
That is correct.
And you knew him through that?
Yes, through association meetings.
Okay, understood. All right, then let's talk about how you got hired at Raymond. First of all, approximately what date or time did you start work for the Raymond School District?
I think officially the contract started in November of I'm going to get this right, 22.
Very good. Did you actually put in some time and do some work in late October of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just speak very briefly about what position you were hired for and kind of look at that process. What was the title you held when you first started working at Raymond?
So as a part-time superintendent and business manager, the contract might have referenced district administrator. They're one and the same certifications.
Understood. When you say part-time, when you took the job, what was the agreed upon amount of either time or hours, however you want to phrase it, that you would work as a superintendent?
Sure, less than half-time.
And is there some magic to that, Dr. Garvey, relative to your retirement benefits?
There is.
Explain briefly to the judge why it was
Sure.
important that you work less than 50%.
Sure, as a rehired annuitant, if we work more than half-time in a position that's eligible for retirement, our annuity is frozen, so we don't get our retirement pay.
And in working less than 50% time, did you come up with a schedule of days you would work and versus days you wouldn't work?
Well, it wasn't a written schedule in that respect, but for sure 2 days a week, and then on weeks where it warranted 3 days a week.
Okay. And when you would work for Raymond, would you be physically, for most, I understand there might be some phone calls and whatnot, but for the most part, would you go into the school?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the judge a couple minutes or less what the process was like that led to you being hired in this interim or part-time superintendent role at Raymond.
Sure, it's the same process I've experienced with all of my educational positions. Put in materials, went through a selection process. I know that there were 3 for sure that were interviewed, only because we were interviewed at the same time. So I got to visit with my other retired colleagues. And then they contacted me for a final meeting and contract discussions and things like that.
All right. Did you have any relationships with any of the board members prior to becoming the part-time superintendent at Raymond?
I did not.
Okay. Did you come to understand that you had met Gwen Keller at some point in a prior life? My words, not yours.
I did.
Tell the judge about that briefly.
Sure. I was serving as an officer with our Boy Scout Council, and it was our practice that one of us would go to camp every Tuesday morning and meet with all the adult leaders there. It turns out Gwen was an adult leader from one of the Milwaukee troops, so not anyone who I actually knew, but that I had spoken with there. And that was our only connection, and it really wasn't until I went for the on-site interview that we kind of connected, that we had met one another before, but never that sort of conversation.
Okay.
Gwen was the board appointed representative to coordinate with HYA. So there were some pre-hiring conversations,
Sure.
but that was really about my experience and we had not connected, that we had met one another before that.
Okay. Did you know Jeff Peterson at all through kind of just associations and whatnot before you started work at Raymond?
I did not.
Did anyone during the hiring process tell you that Mr. Peterson was under investigation at the time the board was hiring?
They did not.
Ultimately ended up hiring you, I know, but
They did not.
when did you find out that Mr. Peterson had been or was under investigation?
That was my welcome gift on my first day in the district. The board president met with me in the afternoon, shared with me the investigative report, which had been completed before my arrival, and asked for a meeting with our attorney and him and I to go through what the investigative report meant.
You're testifying, Dr. Garvey, on day 5 of this hearing. So there's been a lot of documents admitted into evidence. And most, if not everything, I'll show you today is already in evidence. So I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. First of
Okay.
all, do you see on your screen what was previously marked as hearing exhibit R3, which I will show you the first page. At the top, it has Bulow Vetter. It's titled Investigation Report, and it's titled October 17, 2022. Do you see that?
I do.
Is this the report that you were referencing in your last answer?
I believe so.
And so going to what you said, one of your first orders of business, if you will, when you met with the board president, did the board president, share with you this report?
It was Jeremy Childers, and yes, he did.
Oh, sorry, I said she, I should have said he. Let's be clear. At the time you were hired, the board president was who?
Jeremy Childers.
And fast forward, the judge knows this already, but I just want to fast forward to April of 2023. Did Mr. Childers not run again for the board?
That is correct.
And who became the board president in April of 2023?
Audrey Kostich.
And was Ms. Kostich the board president while you served as either the superintendent or the interim superintendent from April of 2023 to the time you ended your employment with Raymond?
Yes.
Just so we get a bookend, Dr. Garvey, when did you stop working for Raymond?
That would have been that following December.
When you say following, do you mean 2023?
Yes. On the
All right.
31st.
So it sounds like you worked there a little over about 14 months, give or take a month.
Correct.
Okay. Now back to what's on your screen here. It sounds like Jeremy Childers provided you with this investigation report. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you read it?
I did.
It references some concerns that were raised by a Mitzi Kozad, who's identified, at least in this report, as the communications director, that Ms. Kozad sent in an email to the school board. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. I'm not going to quiz you on that. Let's go. What did you strike that? Upon reading the investigation report, what did you do, Dr. Garvey?
Well, at that time, Mr. Childers asked that we jump on a call with the school's attorney at the time. And I can't recall if we did that day or the following day, but it was within that first week. And so then we just went through the investigation report.
Showing you what's been previously marked as hearing exhibit 4, also Bates 4. Do you see at the top it says notice of written reprimand?
I do.
I'm going to just show you your signature really quick, so bear with me. At the bottom of this document, is that on the right here? Does that contain your signature?
It does.
This says this letter was hand delivered to Mr. Peterson on November 17, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. So did you meet with Mr. Peterson to go through this document?
I did.
Did you decide to issue Mr. Peterson a written reprimand as a result of the investigative conclusions in we're calling it the Leffler report or the Bulow Vetter report, either or?
I did.
All right. Does your letter, I'm not going to read it, does your letter contain the reason or reasons why you were issuing Mr. Peterson with a written letter of reprimand?
It does.
All right. Did you provide for him in this letter certain performance expectations for him to follow?
I did.
All right, I'll leave those for briefing later. Did Mr. Peterson's sex as a male or sexual orientation have anything to do with the reason or reasons you issued Mr. Peterson this written reprimand?
It did not.
All right. I want to talk, I'm going to try to go chronologically in your testimony. I'm not perfect with that. I may jump back, but I'm going to try. When you were hired, what was your understanding as to how long you would be there? There meaning at Raymond.
Sure, I had signed a contract through June 30, with the understanding if the board was able to secure a superintendent prior to that, that I would resign.
Okay. Then was HYA, after you're hired, was HYA assisting the district with respect to hiring either an interim and or a non-interim superintendent for the Raymond School District?
Yes, in fact, they were under contract prior to my arrival and did the interim search as part of their full search.
Got it. All right. What involvement, if any, did you have in assisting or providing information to HYA in connection with what I'll just call the second search after you're hired,
Sure.
the search for a superintendent?
Well, part of the process, they generally create a profile, and that's done through meeting with groups of individuals. And so I did handle the logistics of that. So helping to gather potential people to be in focus groups, setting up focus group meetings, setting up community and more of the open talking sessions that they have, and also making sure the survey that was put together was publicized. We did that through a mailing and on the website.
Did you, at least at the start, have an intent to apply for the superintendent position at Raymond, and that being the second iteration of it?
I did not.
So, Mike, from your perspective, what happened?
Well, deep into the process, I believe they had offered 3 interviews, 2 or 3, maybe 4 interviews, and at least 2 of the folks had rescinded their applications at the time the interviews had been offered. And so then I was asked by a number of people, some staff, board members, community members, if I would consider applying. And really on the last day open of all that process, I agreed to at least sit down and interview.
Okay. I want to show you a document that has already been admitted as hearing exhibit 5. One moment.
Assuming when you use those numbers, you're referring to your own exhibits.
Yes, I'll try to
R5.
verbalize both. Okay, I'm showing you what's been marked as hearing exhibit 5, which is Bates stamped R6. Do you see on your screen, Dr. Garvey, a document that has a title called Leadership Profile Report, School District of Raymond, or Raymond School District, excuse me, February 23, 2023?
I do.
Had you, in your experience in the field of education, are you familiar with leadership profile reports?
To the extent that HYA used it in the previous district that I had worked in when they hired my replacement.
Okay, so you had, it sounds like just one prior experience with HYA doing a similar report. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. I have a couple questions about this. First of all, did you read this HYA report when you received it?
I did.
All right, one moment. You talked about a survey. Could you explain to the judge, what do you mean by a survey as it relates to the work HYA was doing?
Sure. HYA uses a process where community members, staff members, etc., not only appear in person during focus groups, but have an opportunity to really inform the board of what they're looking for in a district and what they're looking for in this case, a superintendent. And that's done by the use of a survey. HYA has two different types of surveys. One is a very expensive process, which is usually reserved for very large districts. And the other is to use more of a Google type survey. And so they then provide the board and the administrative team with potential questions. So it might have 30 questions on curriculum, and we try to drill down to a question that best fits our community. Or it might have leadership style and have a series of questions that are chosen to then put together a survey that can easily be completed by a community member.
That's helpful. In the HYA report, it references, it's on your screen, so you can kind of see it here. It references that the school board members and all 5 candidates running for the school board were interviewed by HYA Mike Ritchie. Let me stop there. I don't know in relation to this report and what happened before or after, so I've got to ask you this. Were the individuals who you testified had rescinded, I believe the word you used, their applications? Do you know whether those 2 had been interviewed by HYA? And if you don't know, you can tell us.
I don't know that,
Okay.
but they wouldn't really have fallen into that. The 5 candidates were for school board, not for
Oh,
superintendent.
thank you. I misread that. I apologize, Dr. Garvey. Okay. The HYA report talked about 6 individual employee interviews and 5 in-person focus groups. Do you see that? And then 1 virtual focus group. How were the focus groups determined?
Sure. So what HYA asks for is, who are the community leaders in your community? Who are your parent leaders? So that they specifically can get an invitation. These are open focus groups, but so that there's more than one person showing up, they look for to have some targeted people invited, targeted
Sure.
invitations. The difficult part in the community of Raymond is there's really no downtown district. And so to identify, it's more of a bedroom community. So to identify folks in that community is even more important to get them to attend a session like that.
Got it. What about the staff? The employee groups? How, if you know, how were staff selected or chosen to communicate with HYA?
Sure, the staff all were invited to participate, and those that were unable to attend a focus group had the opportunity to attend the virtual one or a community one, and they were also given the opportunity to fill out the survey.
Okay. When the employee groups were determined, was there an attempt by you or anyone else to your knowledge to have the newer employees in one or more groups and separate from the more veteran teachers or veteran employees?
That wasn't necessarily my suggestion, but I do believe Mike Ritchie divided them that way.
Okay. All right. Did you prohibit any employee from going to one session versus another? In other words, if a staff member would say, I want to go to the session that Mike Ritchie has with newer employees, but I'm a more veteran teacher, did you say to anyone, no, you can't go to that one?
I wasn't part of any of the focus groups.
Okay, got it. And so to be clear, did you attend any of those focus groups?
I did not.
All right. Under, this is, let's see if there's page numbers so I can make this clear for the record. Enumerated page 2 of the HYA report, it indicates that the total number of individuals interviewed or participating within an interview was 48, and that an additional 156 stakeholders completed the online survey. Do you see that?
I do see that.
All right, and it says the HYA consultant held 16 interviews and hosted 6 focus groups. Do you see that?
I do.
When you read over this report, did you formulate any thoughts as to whether it appeared to provide an adequate or more than adequate sampling of information from all of the stakeholders?
I did.
What were your thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, the difficult part is surveys are not very, they can be telling, but they're not very popular. So folks don't go out of their way a lot of times to participate. So the focus groups, to me, are a much better way for a consultant to get an idea of the district.
Okay. One moment. I want to show you another page of this report. On enumerated page 4 of the
Yep.
HYA report, there is a section called Staff Split and Divided. Do you see that?
I do.
And I'm not reading verbatim, but the second paragraph talks about a large divide between the newer staff and the veteran staff. All right. And as of April, when you get this, you had been in the district for how many months?
5.
Okay. In that time, did you personally become aware of any divide between newer staff and veteran staff?
I had.
How did you become aware of that, Dr. Garvey?
Just conversations with individual staff members. And then also, there were some conversations I had with Mr. Peterson about it. And at the time, I believe that he had agreed with me, not necessarily that, I don't think he agreed that he was causing that, but that we did have an issue.
Okay. Can you give the judge a little bit of a sense of what the issues were that you were seeing as of 4 or 5 months on the job with regard to staff divide?
Well, there were some staff issues that I had observed, and it just seemed to me, and so I had greater conversations with individuals about it, but it seemed to me that the veteran staff, just as this report shows, that the veteran staff had one set of standards it was being held to or wasn't being held to, and the newer staff, the under 10-year veterans, 10-year veterans, had a completely different set of standards. And that's extremely problematic for staff morale, but it's even more problematic for operations when the district adopts a curriculum or adopts technology and a teacher just does what they've always done, and that affects kids.
Okay. The HYA report talks about leadership lacking accountability and stability. And did you, over those 4 or 5 months from late October or early November through late February, did you personally witness or experience events that caused you concern about accountability?
Well, I think that was, all the way through my time there. I would see situations and bring them to Mr. Peterson's attention. Again, as a superintendent, I don't personally supervise every instructional staff member. That's a principal responsibility.
Sure.
But when I see there is some disparity between the expectations, that certainly raises my concern to a point where I'm addressing that with the principal.
Okay. Let me just stop. When were you ultimately retained by the board as the non-interim superintendent?
I don't recall that date, but that contract would have started on July 1st.
Okay,
So
of
my interim
2023.
Yep.
All right. Now, did you, one moment, I'm going to show you some documents. To show you what has been previously marked as hearing exhibit 7, date stamp respondent 8. One moment. Dr. Garvey, I'm showing you what at the top is entitled Administrative Review 2223 that has administrator identify Jeff Peterson, evaluator Dr. Garvey. Do you see that?
I do.
Let's just first talk about the dates for a minute. I'm going to go down to the bottom, so one moment. Is that your signature at the bottom of that exhibit?
It is.
And to the best, well, Jeff's already testified it's his signature. There's a typed date here of March 25, but obviously we can see you didn't physically sign it, or excuse me, you didn't physically date it. I apologize. Can you give the judge a sense for why is there a March 25 typed out date?
That's I don't know the exact date, but March 25th was early in the draft, and we didn't get to our meeting until in April. So
Okay.
It would have been right at the beginning of April, however.
What would have been right at the beginning of April?
When I had completed the report.
Okay. And then
the first 10 days.
Did you then meet with Mr. Peterson to go through this?
I did.
I'll represent you. He's testified he signed it on April 24, 2023. Assuming that's accurate, do you recall when you would have signed it?
I don't know if I signed it when I completed it or when I presented it to him, but.
All right. Now, I want to start at the top, so just bear with me. The subject of this evaluation was the topic of testimony you offered at an evidentiary hearing before the board in December of 2023, right?
Yes.
You were put under oath before you gave testimony at that hearing. Is that right?
I was.
Do you stand by the testimony today that you presented to the board at the during the hearing in December of 2023?
I do.
All right. I'm just going to then go over the highlights because we've got a transcript of that. So my first question is, why didn't you use the CISA 6 model, if you will, for this evaluation?
Sure, there's a couple of reasons there. Number one, the CISA 6 system for administrators had not been used in my previous districts, even though we had used the teacher version of that. And so when I discovered that we were using the teacher version by policy, but had not implemented it yet, meaning we had not begun to use it with teachers, it seemed more prudent to use a system that actually is in place, and that's to use the state standards for administrative positions.
Okay. I want to break down that answer and
Sure.
ask a couple follow-up. When you said the CISA 6 had not been implemented at Raymond, what do you mean by that?
Well, I was told it had been adopted, but it was not being used.
Who was responsible at Raymond to ensure that certified staff, teachers, were being evaluated in accordance with a model that was adopted by the school board?
So the principal, as well as our learning director of learning, has had the responsibility of evaluating teachers, and they had divided up who they were responsible for. But
Divided
Mr.
up.
Peterson,
Sorry, go ahead.
excuse me, divided a list up on who they were responsible for the evaluations, to do the evaluations. So Mr. Peterson would not have been responsible for all the evaluations. Mrs. Ramon would have had half of those to do. And both were certified to do evaluations. The process of implementing would have fallen to Mr. Peterson, and they had been moving along, but it just hadn't gotten there yet, where they were
Okay.
actually using the tool.
The tool being the CISA 6 model?
Yes.
All right. And did you know that, what you just testified to, did you know that they had not fully implemented the CISA 6 model at the time you chose, or you completed this evaluation that's on your screen?
Yes.
All right. Second thing you said was you decided to use the state standards. The judge is a lawyer. He's not in the field of education. So you got it.
Sure.
What do you mean state standards?
So the Department of Public Instruction provides and had adopted state standards for school administrators. And those are the standards used by the two most common evaluation tools, including CISA 6. Now, those two tools that were approved by the state use two different philosophies, two different educational theorists to write the standards, but the words are different, but they embrace the standards that have been accepted by the state.
Okay. All right. The administrative review, just to give us perspective, by the time you deliver this to Mr. Peterson, let's just say his date is correct. I think it's April 23rd, but let's just double check. April 24. For what period of time had you been working with Mr. Peterson?
Six months.
Okay. And would you say you were in the district between 2 to 3 days a week during that time frame, or something else?
Yes, 2 to 3 days.
The judges heard testimony about the size of Raymond. He knows that it's a kindergarten, I think 4K through 8th grade. Is that right?
That is correct.
Give the judge a sense for, like, with what degree of frequency would you interact with Mr. Peterson on the days you were there? And kind of what did those, we'll strike that. Let's strike all that. Let's start with this. Where was your office located in relation to Mr. Peterson's office?
I was in the administrative suite. Prior to my arrival, Mr. Peterson had moved into an unoccupied room in the hallway, giving him greater access for students and staff, but he was not in our same suite.
How far away was his office to yours in those 6 months or so?
2 or 3 rooms.
Okay. With what degree of frequency on a daily basis, when you were there on the 2 to 3 days a week, would you communicate with Mr. Peterson?
Provided we both were in the district, it was each of those days.
Okay.
All
right.
Either to check in or to have a conversation or to work on a project. And we usually met in his space.
Did you have any sort of standing meeting day or time? Maybe it's not the same day every week, but did you have some degree of frequency, like you would meet as an admin team X once a week, once every other week, or did you guys not do that?
We didn't do that on a weekly basis.
Okay. All right. Now, let's go to the top of the admin review. You start your evaluation at the top. It says the 11 administrator standards are, and then you enumerate them. Is the standard before in each of these 11, does that come from the state standards?
It does.
And then what you typed after the standards, is that your review of Mr. Peterson's job performance in relation to the specific standard?
Yes.
All right. There's a few things in this review I'd like to highlight, and I have a couple follow-up questions, so bear with me. You said I'm in the first standard, you say Jeff does not demonstrate developed leadership skills. A specific area I would look to have Jeff improve is in holding staff to the same standards. Newer staff members have articulated the imbalance of accountability they experience compared to the more veteran staff. Do you see where I read?
I do.
And is that in sum and in substance what we've talked about previously that you observed and noted with the HYA report as well?
Yes.
You say Mr. Peterson agrees with the need for change and that the administrative team's direction, but does not seem to be successful in advocating for change when the senior teaching staff pushes back. Do you see that?
I do.
Where does that come from? In other words, why did you write that?
Well, I think the next sentence probably helps illuminate that, but it isn't, as an administrative team, we have decided when it's presented to those teaching staff members that are of more senior, it's always Dr. Garvey decided, the board decided, not taking responsibility to be part of the team that made that decision.
When you have an administrator that is telling staff that whatever change needs to be made is not coming from them, but coming from on high, if you will, does that cause problems?
Well, the biggest problem is it's an ineffective form of leadership.
Explain, please.
because we won't have the opportunity to make the necessary changes if they can play good cop, bad cop, or mom versus dad type of a scenario. They can find an administrator that they agree with, and change becomes impossible.
Okay. Item number 2 under ethics and professional norms. By the way, under item 1, you identified the word at the end as unsatisfactory. Is that, what are the options that could have looked like?
I would have to review the state standards
Okay.
language.
That's fine. If you don't remember, it's okay. You found he was unsatisfactory on the first standard. Is that correct?
Yes,
Did you find him unsatisfactory on the second standard?
I did.
And can you just, you can read it to yourself if you want. Can you just explain to the judge why you determined that Mr. Peterson had been not satisfactory with regard to ethics and professional norms?
Well, I think partly the lack of public support for changes that we had identified it as an administrative team. So this kind of plays into this as well. He identified areas that needed to change. We identified as a team. And then when we go out and undermine those decisions, it creates an issue. It exasperates the divide issue.
Okay. Under item 3, equity and cultural responsiveness, you have developing to proficient. Would you agree that's better than unsatisfactory?
It is.
And I'm going to move past some of these things. Under curriculum instruction and assessment, you identified him as proficient. Is that right?
It is.
Under care and support, you identified him as developing, as well as under professional capacity of school personnel. Is that correct?
Yes.
The next one you identified as unsatisfactory is 7, professional community. And can you just describe for the judge why you determined that Mr. Peterson was unsatisfactory with regard to professional community?
Sure. I think, the example given with holding staff to standards that are the same is a good example of how prior to my arrival, a teacher was identified that teacher needed improvement, and instead of causing that improvement, they provided the teacher what I called in this document a click and play curriculum, meaning he could sit at his desk and the purchased curriculum would go on without his interaction with students. The unfortunate part is the teacher in question was great with the students. He just didn't instruct. So in non-instructional settings, I think he was one of their favorite teachers. In instructional settings, it wasn't really good. And that is not how you build a professional community. You need to hold everyone to the same standards. You need to provide everyone with the same materials, and most importantly, training.
Okay. I skipped one for the record. Under operations and management, you labeled it unsatisfactory developing. And you said this is an area in which the district as a whole needs to improve. Is that right?
That is true.
Okay. I want to show you what's been previously marked as let me strike that. At the time you delivered Mr. Peterson his administrative review, did you also deliver a plan of improvement for him?
I did.
And this is for the record only previously been marked as hearing exhibit 6, Bates stamp R7. Let's look at the signatures on this, Dr. Garvey, one moment. Did you sign this document?
I did.
And was this document delivered to Mr. Peterson on April 24, 2023?
I believe it was.
All right, let's go to the top, one moment. It appears to me that this, if we were to sit down and compare the two documents, you've identified kind of the areas of unsatisfactory performance and placed areas that you expect improvement into a PIP. Is that how you went about drafting this document?
I did.
Okay, so I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I just have a couple questions. One moment. You know what? I'm going to skip ahead. Let's go to, did you meet with Mr. Peterson in May and June formally, like sit down and meet with him to formally go through his PIP?
I don't remember the dates.
Okay, fair enough. I'll show you the documents. One second.
Okay.
Showing you what's been previously marked as hearing exhibit 8, Bates stamped respondent exhibit 9. On your screen, Dr. Garvey, is a document that has a date of May 25, 2023 that has Jeff's name and your name and is identified professional improvement plan progress update. Do you see that?
I do see that.
And you say below are the major items with my notes. I'm not going to have you read it. Did you meet with him on May 25, 2023?
I did.
Now, Dr. Garvey, aside from sitting down and meeting with Mr. Peterson to do these PIP updates, would you communicate with him during the days when you were there 2 to 3 days a week and Mr. Peterson was also present? Would you talk with him about the items that are in his PIP?
I would.
With what degree of frequency would you just have conversations about the topics that are in his PIP?
Well, providing we were both in the building at the same time, we would have a conversation each day we were together. And many times that was also including these topics. So just checking in how we were doing. Specifically, an example would be the teacher that needed to be on an improvement plan. How are we doing in the curriculum conversations, those types of things.
Okay. All right. Did your administrative review, I can put it on your screen if you want, but I don't think I need to. Did Mr. Peterson's sex as a male play any part whatsoever in your decision to review him as you did?
No.
Did his sexual orientation play any such role?
No.
Did Mr. Peterson's sex as a male play any part in your decision to place him on a PIP?
No.
Did Mr. Peterson's sexual orientation play any part in your decision to place him on a PIP?
No.
Did any board member direct you to place Mr. Peterson on a PIP?
No.
Were those decisions, that is your decision on the substance of his review and the PIP, were those your decisions?
They were.
Now, at some point, well, let's just go through the PIP updates really quick. One moment. I want to talk about on the PIP update on May 25.
Mm-hmm.
On the plan to reduce staff divide, you said, when Mr. Peterson seemed to me to waver on following through with the diverse makeup, I advised him that all staff need to have a voice and he should really consider moving forward with putting together a solid team rather than making everything a democracy. Do you see that?
I do.
What is that? What is that all about, Dr. Garvey?
So Mr. Peterson, as many principals do, used a leadership team, a representative from each grade or every couple of grades, to really work on what I would call cultural things in the building. But it's just how they're going to proceed on things, kind of their evaluation as professionals to how the implementation of curriculum's going, those types of topics. And upon my arrival, that was mainly made up of veteran staff who, when the grade levels met, they just said, I'm going to be that person, and not have the principal go out and seek more of the diverse experience and the diverse experience and the diverse makeup of staff, which would, in my opinion, help reduce the divide.
Showing you what's still within the same exhibit. This appears to be a PIP progress update number 2 dated June 12, 2023. Do you see that?
I do.
And did you in fact meet with Mr. Peterson and then document some of the, what you call the major items from your notes?
I did.
Okay, one moment. I had 1 or 2 questions on this. There seems to be, there's a reference to an SS. Is SS a staff member or, yeah, let me leave it at that. Is SS a staff member?
Yes.
All right. And this says, Mr. Peterson indicated he has not yet addressed the instructional practice issues with SS. He indicated that since SS is assigned to be evaluated by Ms. Ramon, Peterson, was discussing that with her. Do you see that?
I do.
Did that, I mean, if we're into June, did it cause you concern that it appeared that Mr. Peterson was not doing what you had suggested with regard to SS?
Correct.
Now, in this paragraph, second paragraph, it looks like you did find a letter. There might have been 2. The letter Mr. Peterson was planning on giving to teachers, memorializing the interaction. You found the letter to be well written. Is that correct?
I did.
All right. So he shared, presumably he shared something with you about some issues with teachers that you felt he was handling appropriately. Is that fair?
That is.
All right. Now there's a second issue. I'm just going to let the document speak for itself. At the time, strike that, was Mr. Peterson providing the board with his view of how he was doing on his PIP in the months of, let's say, May and June of 2023?
He did provide the board and a document which indicated that he had completed everything on his PIP.
Okay. By the way, we're still in the June update. You, on the plan to reduce staff divide, you say there's still no written plan presented. This seems to be an area which Jeff and I disagree on the solution. You see where I read?
I do.
All right. And you do have a note here that says on 6/13, the day after this check-in, you did receive a plan which focused on the need of the board to support the plan financially. What is that referencing, Dr. Garvey?
So I had given Mr. Peterson some suggestions on how to reduce that staff divide, which has been pointed out in a variety of previous documents. Mr. Peterson's solution would be to, in the following year, provide what's called a purchased staff development program. So a program that would require financial support and work throughout the following school year on developing a closer relationship, a better professional culture, those types of things, rather than looking at the steps. Where I see that being a prudent decision would be in a larger district when you want to kind of bring the culture to a midpoint throughout the district versus a one building district where my experience is it's better to work personally with the staff and not rely on a video program or that type of a curriculum.
And you say this is an area where you and Jeff disagreed on the solution. Did you provide suggestions to Mr. Peterson along the lines that you've just testified to?
I did.
Okay. Now, so I can try to stick with my timeline. I have a couple random questions about things that were happening in the spring of 2023. Were, at that point, was there some discussion at either a board meeting or at a committee meeting involving the teaching of human growth and development to the district students?
It was one of the curricular areas that we presented to the board's curriculum committee.
Tell us, you got to educate us a little bit. The curriculum committee, is that a committee of the board?
Yes.
And it's, I don't need the names, but like how many board members are on the curriculum committee?
It would be 3 members.
Okay. So, and I assume the board has other committees other than just the curriculum committee, is that right?
That is correct. Raymond didn't have committees
Okay.
that were meeting. And so we did the work to create those. And
And did
I'm
the
trying to
top,
remember if there were 2 or 3 members on the committee, but
it's
it
okay.
was a smaller group than the whole board.
All right. So at a curriculum committee that I understand would include 2 or 3 school board members, can you relay to the judge what was discussed relative to the teaching of human growth and development?
My recollection was that I wanted our administrators to articulate what was in the curriculum. I think the district, my professional opinion is that the district did a poor job of educating the public at what was in there. So, it was a lot of misinformation in our community. And so we had an opportunity to do that. We also were looking at some other type of support materials that would augment the human growth and development curriculum.
All right. Did you have a conversation with Mr. Peterson about him teaching human growth and development?
I did.
All right. When did this conversation happen? I don't need an exact date, but like maybe just a time of year.
I don't remember that.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
It's okay. It's all good. I know it's been a long time. Can you relay to the judge as best you can recall what you spoke about with Mr. Peterson concerning him teaching the boys section of human growth and development?
The only reason it was about the boys section is that's the section he had identified he was going to teach.
Sure.
My advice, my expectations of whoever was teaching human growth and development over my entire career was that's not a course you teach by yourself, and particularly to middle schoolers. Middle schoolers tend, and this is overgeneralizing, but pretty accurate. If somebody shouts out something in the room that's inappropriate, by the time that comment makes it home to a parent, it has been blown way out of proportion, and it always is attributed, not Johnny said this, but the teacher said this. And so I've always encouraged two adults in the room, either the classroom teachers or the health teacher. And that particular grade in question, which I can't even recall which grade it was two female teachers taught that grade level, and they were going to co-teach this, or at least both be in the room for the girls. And instead of having the health or phy-ed teachers teach the course, Mr. Peterson had decided he would. My advice was have a second person in there with you, a second adult, whoever that is.
Okay. And did you relay that advice or talk about having two adults in the room at a curriculum committee?
We may have mentioned it there.
Okay. All right. Was there a community member, not a board member, not an employee, but a community member who attended a school board meeting and made a comment? Well, let me back up. At regular meetings of the Raymond School Board, would there be a time period for what we call public comment?
Yes.
And public comment, I'm leading you as noted, but was it a set time of regular meetings where the public could come up for a 2, 3, 4 minute duration, whatever Raymond had to speak in general what they wanted the board to know?
We did have that.
Okay. Now, was there a member of the public, not a board member, not an employee, not a student, who made a comment at a board meeting during public comment that you viewed to be inappropriate and or, sexist or let me just leave it at
I'm gonna object to
inappropriate.
the leading part of this one. I'm trying really hard not to object to leading, but
I can
a little less,
rephrase.
please. A little less.
I can rephrase. Did there come a point where a community member made a comment at a board meeting during public comment that you had to address?
I don't recall that anymore.
Okay. All right. Do you recall somebody saying something about Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve?
I recall that comment from a community member, but it was not during the board meeting.
Okay. Tell us about.
To my memory.
That's fine. That's okay. How did you address that comment when it was made?
Well, it was made directly to me as I was greeting community members, and we had a very short, but I would say he would probably think I was being pretty stern about that wasn't a comment that was acceptable at that meeting.
Okay.
If he's the only one I ever heard say that, and if he said it during public comment, again, that would be the board president's responsibility to shut it down, and she would have done that.
All right. Can you confirm the person who made this statement, were they an employee or board member?
They were not.
Okay. All right. Did you become aware that WEAC had undertaken some sort of effort to survey Raymond staff with regard to your performance?
I wasn't made aware of that, yes.
All right. How did you become aware of that, Dr. Garvey?
That I can't recall.
Okay. By late June or early July, how did you view Mr. Peterson in terms of whether he was meeting your expectations under the PIP?
I did not see progress to the extent that we needed to have seen.
Okay. Now, have you in your,
2023,
that's the year, yep. Dr. Garvey, in your career, have you placed administrators and or teachers on PIPs other than Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And about ballpark it, about how many times have you done that?
Including teachers, probably half dozen to a dozen.
Okay. And on those occasions, what are the various end results? In other words, I don't need exact numbers, but have people improved? Have people been fired? Just give us a sense for it.
Some have improved, some retired, and some resigned, and one person was non-renewed.
Other than the Peterson matter, how many times had you been involved in a non-renewal hearing before you get to Raymond?
In a non-renewal hearing, once.
What school district did you work in where that occurred?
Johnson Creek.
One or two teachers have testified in this case, and I want to address some testimony of theirs. When you started, like maybe in the first couple months when you were working for Raymond, did you hold meetings, either individual meetings with teachers or maybe small group meetings where one or two or three teachers would meet with you, where you would just talk to them a little bit about who you are and what they do for the district?
I did hold those.
What was the purpose of you holding those meetings?
I wanted them to have an opportunity to get to know who I was and what I saw as my responsibilities there, and more importantly, to find out who they were and how they fit into the operation, and how I could best help them out.
Did the topic of your one prior experience in a non-renewal hearing in Johnson Creek, did you affirmatively bring that up in any of your meetings with these teachers?
Well, I know that that's been talked about because that got back to me, but while I was still working there. But I think that maybe the message, although I think it made it through to most groups, might not have made it through to all groups. And that message wasn't bragging about the non-renewal. It was bragging about our use of improvement plans and how successful we were, which only led to one non-renewal. But I'm only supposing there what they heard, and my purpose of talking about professional development and professional evaluation was to get that message across, that we had been very successful in my previous districts to work with staff on development and improvement, and only ended with one non-renewal.
Okay. Understood. Is that something I asked you about this morning before you got on the hearing?
You did.
All right. Just want to make sure have you watched any of this hearing?
I have not.
All right, very good. Just one more random question, and then we'll go to the events of August of 2023. Did you become aware, you may not have been involved in detail, but did you become aware of settlement discussions that were going on between the district/board on the one hand and Mr. Peterson that started sometime in 2023?
Yes.
And let's just get some foundation out. Were you involved in the relaying of any offers back and forth or no?
No.
Okay. Were you out of the building off work in July of 2023 for any period of time?
I took my scouts to camp for a week.
Okay. Was that board approved?
My leave approval comes straight from the president. It doesn't have to go to the full board.
Got it. So did the president approve you being off of work 1 week?
Yes.
All right. Were you otherwise working other than that 1 week? Were you were at the Scouts event? Were you working in July of 2023 for the district? I know, again, part-time, we get that.
I was.
All right.
I was.
Do you know why there wasn't a formal PIP in-person meeting with Mr. Peterson in July or August of 2023?
Well, I think a couple things added to that. One, our summer schedules didn't always link up. Where I was in the building at times, he wasn't, and he was attending to family needs and professional needs outside of the building on some of those days. So some days we just literally didn't see one another for that long a period of time to have enough. And probably with my knowledge that there were some conversations going on between attorneys, I probably backed off a little bit, and maybe that was not a wise decision, but I did so anyways.
All right, that's fine. I want to show you a couple more documents, just one moment. You talked earlier about, strike that. I'm going to show you what's been marked as hearing exhibit R8, which was Bates stamped R9. I think I was sharing that whole time. 1 second. Mr. Garvey, do you see on your screen an email from Mr. Peterson to the school board and you dated September 17 at 7:30 p.m.?
Yes.
All right. And attached to that email was a document entitled Plan of Improvement Conclusion Report. Have you seen this document before?
I have.
And the summons, I think Mr. Peterson testified that he agreed that he had marked all aspects of his PIP complete when he submitted this to the board. Is that how you read it?
Yes.
Did you agree with that?
No.
Moment. Gotta find it, just a sec. Oh, it's in my prior. I gotta go back to hearing exhibit 8, which is Bates stamp R9. Sorry about moving this quickly. Did you issue a professional improvement plan progress update number 3 dated October 2, 2023?
I did.
You say Mr. Peterson provided an email copy of his improvement plan on which he marked complete in my evaluation, there are several items outstanding, and you go through it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, now, Mr. Peterson, let me show you a different document. One moment. Showing you what was previously marked as hearing exhibit 10, Bates stamp respondent 11. Is this a letter you sent to Mr. Peterson dated September 28, 2023, wherein you placed him on a paid non-disciplinary admin leave?
Yes,
I'll just show you your signature just so you know I'm showing you your document. Dr. Garvey, did you hand deliver this letter to Mr. Peterson on September 28, 2023?
I did.
Why did you place Mr. Peterson on a paid non-disciplinary admin leave pending the outcome of a district of the district's investigation?
Well, I have found that because of the nature of the investigation, where it involves undermining the administrative team or the board or accessing emails or other technology, it's best if we reduce the drama in the building and have the employee, in this case, Mr. Peterson, not be on the premise.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. So was Mr. Peterson paid thereafter, meaning he got his pay and his benefits while this investigation was pending, at least to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, he was.
And I can appreciate you ended your employment on December 31, 2023. Is that right?
That is correct.
And just so the judge has the timeline, at the time you retire, was this investigation that's the subject of this letter, was it still going?
It was.
All right. So what came to your attention that led you to make the decision that an investigation of Mr. Peterson would be warranted?
We had, excuse me, we had some staff members sharing with us that they felt that there was some undermining going on. We had some parents with that same concern, and it just seemed more appropriate than to have it just be, we could do a better investigation if we involved an outside investigator than
Okay.
I could do in my limited time in the district.
And that makes sense to me as to why you chose an outside investigator. But my question is more about what led you to believe you needed an investigation. And you said you got some information about undermining. Let me ask it this way. Did you receive information that Jeff Peterson was engaging in certain conduct that caused you concern?
Yes.
Okay. There were a lot of events that happened around this time that I want to go through really briefly. At some point in the day or days prior to September 28th, the date of this letter, did you receive a letter in the mail that you perceived to be a threat?
Actually, my wife received the letter
Okay.
directing her that if she didn't cause me to resign, that the person or people would bring harm to my family.
Did that cause you concern?
Greatly.
Why were police present at the school on September 28th?
Besides that letter, we also received a verbal threat on the school phone. And so I asked for an officer to be there at the time period that I was going to be present. just in case we had any issues.
Did the police officer's presence that you requested have anything to do with the fact that Mr. Peterson would be given this letter?
No,
Okay. Did your board president, Audrey Kostich, also to your knowledge receive a anonymous threatening letter?
yes,
Did she make you aware of that?
she did.
What is an annual meeting?
State statutes require the school board to hold an annual meeting after July 1 and can't recall before a certain date, before the levy is set, I think is what it talks about. At most annual meetings, you go over the budget, although that's a separate meeting. It's called a budget hearing. Most districts do that the same night. And at those meetings, it's a meeting that's run by community members. So the board members have every right to vote on the levy and a certain of other statutory required motions. And so a board member is, community member is selected. It can be a board member. We usually try to have it be someone other than a board member. And then they, there's a finite number of duties that meeting is allowed to do.
And that's all governed by state statute, right?
It is.
All right, we won't get into the law, but I do want to show you what was previously marked as hearing exhibit R27, which is Bates stamped R17. And do you see here on your screen, Dr. Garvey, that there's reference to an annual meeting of the Raymond School District number 14 to occur on Wednesday, August 23, 2023.
I do see that.
Did you attend that annual meeting?
I did.
Describe to the judge that annual meeting.
Well, it started out as it normally is. We elected a chairperson, and I'm not a voting member, but the community elected a chairperson. And then they go through each of these resolutions that are described in a packet that's handed out. And then when the required and allowable items were completed, then there was a resolution to terminate my employment.
All right, we'll look at the minutes. This is already an exhibit in the hearing, so just bear with me. Within the minutes from the annual meeting, there purports to be a motion that carried to authorize the Board of Education to use district funds for legal counsel to terminate Dr. Garvey's contract for misconduct. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Okay. And there's also a motion that the district, and I'm paraphrasing, be prohibited from defending against a legal action using district funds for any discrimination claim brought forth by any district employee involving allegations of discrimination conducted either by you or the board. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Dr. Garvey, are those motions, in your experience, typical for an annual meeting?
They actually are two motions that are not listed as the duties of the annual meeting. So no, I've never seen or heard of that happening anywhere.
By this time, meaning August 23, bear with me, I want to get the date right. By August 23, did you observe an increased presence at Raymond School Board meetings?
Yes.
Were there times where, strike that, was there a need, at least in your judgment and experience, for law enforcement presence at one or more board meetings?
In a prevention type of way, yes.
Okay. How would you describe those board meetings in July, August, September for the judge?
Chaos. certainly hindered the duties of the board members to do their work. One board meeting actually was held virtually because the board members had a concern for their safety.
Was there,
It,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it was nothing like I had ever seen before.
How long have you worked in the field of education?
30 years.
Was there a conversation you had with Mr. Peterson at some point concerning a woman who started attending board meetings?
Yes,
Did you ask Mr. Peterson if he knew who that was?
I did.
What did he say?
That he did not.
One moment. I want to just tie up a couple loose ends for the fall and then we'll get to the hearing. Just about done, Dr. Garvey. One moment. Were you, let me stop. We talked about you deciding to place Mr. Peterson on paid administrative leave. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Was your decision to place him on paid administrative leave, was that in whole or in part because of his sex as a male?
no,
Was that in whole or in part based on his sexual orientation?
no,
Was that based in whole or in part on the fact that about a month earlier, give or take, he sent a letter from his lawyer claiming he was being discriminated against?
no,
Did you decide to initiate an investigation that we know was done by a third party, but was that decision based in whole or in part on Mr. Peterson's sex?
no,
Was it based in whole or in part on his sexual orientation?
no,
Was it based in whole or in part on the fact that he had complained to have been the victim of discrimination by the district or you or the board?
no.
Let me just get a couple more documents out. 1 second. We haven't had a witness really explain the non-renewal process, so I'd like to very briefly do that with you, sir. 1 moment. We've previously marked as hearing exhibit 11, date stamped R12, a letter Mr. Peterson acknowledged he got entitled Preliminary Notice of Contract Non-Renewal, and it's signed by the then board president. Do you see that?
I do.
And there's a reference to state statute 11824. All right.
Yes.
Dr. Garvey, in 2 minutes or less, can you explain to the judge how in practice the administrator non-renewal statute gets played out when a board considers whether to non-renew an administrator's contract?
Sure. Administrative language is different than teacher language. So we really, as administrators, don't have a right per se to extend our contract beyond the 2-year limit that's placed on us in the statutes. 11824 treats us similarly to teachers in that we get a preliminary notice of non-renewal.
Excuse me, I'm going to object to the extent that this answer is an explanation of a statute, not how it plays out, but to his legal conclusion on what it says. So to that extent, I would like to limit his answer to how it plays out in practice, like you asked.
I think he's answering that question, and I'm not asking him for a legal conclusion.
I agree that you didn't ask him for one, but he's providing it.
Yeah, I disagree. Judge,
So
can you rule on that?
Not really sure. I think we need to give him more of a chance to explain. I think he was just, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Haslam, what maybe prompted your objective is I think the words the effect that what Wisconsin statute section 118.24 requires us to do. And I think insofar as that's if you're interpreting the statute, if you could just explain the process as you understand it, understanding that I think you're telling us that you're trying to, the process is intended to conform with a statute that, with which you have to, comply, but rather than getting into a legal interpretation, if you can just explain the process itself, I think that then we can move forward.
I will attempt to do that. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It was a decent objection. I mean, it was a good point, and I think we've cleared it up now, hopefully.
So the first step in a non-renewal of an administrative contract is to provide the administrator an opportunity to know that it's coming, and an opportunity to convince the board that they should renew his contract versus not renew his contract. And so this gives the administrator the right to request a hearing. That hearing is done in private, in a closed session setting, unless requested of the employee to be in public. And then once we have that response, and usually that's about a week that they're given, then we schedule a hearing, or we go ahead and schedule the next board meeting to discuss the non-renewal.
Okay. And Mr. Peterson's already testified that he requested a public hearing. I'm going to show you what's previously been marked as hearing exhibit 12. Let me make sure. It's a tough copy, but it's respondent 13. Did you become aware, sir, that that Mr. Peterson had requested a public hearing?
Yes.
Also, as part of the statute, I'll represent you. The statute talks about being provided the reasons. That's my statement, not a question. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as hearing exhibit 13, which is base stamped R14. Do you see on your screen a letter dated November 22, 2023, issued to Mr. Peterson, care of his attorney, Attorney Haslam, who's here today? Do you see that?
I do.
And within that letter, or enclosed within that letter, is a letter dated November 22, 2023. I'm going to take you down to your signature. Is that your signature?
It is.
Did you author this letter wherein you provided the, quote, reasons upon which it is recommended that the school board non-renew Mr. Peterson's employment contract?
Yes.
Were the reasons that are set forth in this letter the true and honest reasons you were recommending to the board to non-renew Mr. Peterson's contract?
Yes.
Did your decision to recommend to the board the non-renewal of his contract have anything to do with his sex?
No.
Did it have anything to do with his sexual orientation?
No.
Did it have anything to do with the fact that his attorney had claimed that he was the victim of discrimination in the workplace?
No.
Did you attend, you've already testified, you attended the non-renewal hearing on December 6, 2023, correct?
I did.
And skipping ahead because you've already offered testimony on that, there's been some testimony that the board deliberated outside the presence of others. And I just want to confirm, Dr. Garvey, were you present during the board's deliberation where they independently discussed their thoughts on the evidence that was presented?
I can't recall. I don't believe I did, but
Okay,
I can't recall that.
that's fine. Were you seated with me at a table when the hearing was happening?
Yes,
Okay, and then did you stay? We've stipulated in this case that the deliberations went over to the midnight hour and into the next morning. So I'll represent to you, it was the morning of the 7th, but were you present in the room that next morning in the wee hours when the board came back from its deliberations?
I was.
And we all know what the vote was. Were you present when board members articulated their why, meaning why they voted the way they did?
Yes.
Why did you retire, resign, whatever word you use, from the Raymond School Board effective December 31, 2023?
Well, I guess the biggest reason is having my family threatened was not what I signed up for.
Okay.
And the chaos that ensued was not good for the district. And
Okay.
so I stayed till the 31st of December at the bequest of the board, but had tendered my resignation, at least informed them that I was resigning earlier than that.
Did you take any action whatsoever with respect to Mr. Peterson's employment because of his sex as a male?
No,
Did you take any action relating to his employment because of his sexual orientation?
I did not.
Did you take any action against Mr. Peterson because he had complained in the fall of 2023 that he felt he was being discriminated against?
No.
Those are all the questions I have.
Okay, well, I would suggest that you're muted, Attorney Haslam, just so you know. I need to have a break at least to use the bathroom, but I would suggest a little bit, maybe till noon or a little after. I have a few administrative things that are completely unrelated to this case that I need to deal with. It shouldn't take long. So let's
So,
reconvene. Let's
back at
go off
noon?
record and reconvene 12 or a little after, okay?
All right.
Yeah, Your Honor, are you gonna want to take a lunch break today also? Because I mean,
Oh, well, we can
might be time for
discuss
that.
that. I mean, what is so it's your cross-examination, which I believe is going to take a while. Are you suggesting that it would be better to take lunch?
Yeah, it's gonna take a while, and we'd agreed to be able to do ours. We have overlap of witnesses to be able to do our directs too. So I mean, it's not gonna be limited to hers. So it's gonna be a while.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want is fine.
Well,
with
it
me.
sounds like that your preference is now to break for lunch then to,
If you're gonna break for lunch at all, my preference would be now, but at the end of the day, Judge, it's up to you. I just,
all
I
right,
think
well,
that'd be
why don't we break until around 12:30-ish? Is that somewhere right that ballpark? Is that okay?
that sounds great to me.
Okay, well, we'll go off record for lunch break and reconvene at approximately 12:30 or thereabouts. So,
Sounds good.
Thank you.
all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.